And welcome back to the Diamond Lane. I'm your host, Sarah Jo, here on Classic 107 in Winnipeg. And we have just invited a very special guest into the studio. Cellist Leanne Zacharias' approach to musical life has been compared to extreme sport, from soloist to collaborating across genres with choreographers, writers, architects, visual artists, and musicians of all stripes. She's emerged with a uniquely vibrant and contemporary voice. A versatile performer, she's collaborated with the San Francisco Odyssey Works, also Sweden's Illusion Ensemble, not to mention loads of ensembles here in Canada and beyond. And she is here in Winnipeg from her, normal station in Brandon at Brandon University to participate in this year's Agassiz Festival in a completely new and unique way. Leanne, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
It's such a pleasure to have you always.
Likewise.
Thanks. But Fred, okay, so we've seen you in the Agassiz Festival before. How, didn't you used to study with the artistic director, Paul Marlene?
Yes, that's right. I was Paul's student at the University of Manitoba during my undergraduate days. And in fact, that's when Agassiz started. Mm-hmm. And it started not only with professional concerts, but with a student component where students were performing and taking master classes with the guests. So I actually took part in that at least 2 years, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I've been a fan of the Agassiz Festival for many years. And yes, I've performed in it several times in both the cello festivals, of course, the international cello festivals, and several times in non-cello fest years, including this one.
Well, fantastic. And this is a completely different experience, I think, for everyone involved in Agassiz. Anyone who has visited Agassiz before, we're used to the chamber music venue, right?
Yes.
Like audience, performer, just jamming as we do. But tell us a little bit about this listening booth that you are doing at the Lisa Kaler Gallery over in the Exchange.
Exactly. So listening booth is a very simple project, actually. I play solo recitals for one person at a time, for a solo audience member. And so it's not chamber music, so in that way it's a departure. But in fact, Agassiz is featuring many solos this year in terms of in the programming and in the fanfares to celebrate Canada 150. So in that way it is consistent with the festival. But it may be the first time for many people that they've actually heard a concert artist performing just for them.
And what a unique experience. So, you commissioned tons of new works as a soloist and a chamber musician, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And because you're also a part of the team for Brandon Chamber Players, right?
Yeah, I'm one of the artistic directors.
Which is amazing. And it's great that you have such rich chamber music out there. I look at your programs and I'm always duly impressed. Nevertheless.
Oh, that's so great. We do have awesome concerts. And certainly there's a lot of partnership with groups in Winnipeg. So a lot of the folks who are here performing, for example, in the Virtuosi series, will come out to Brandon as well. So certainly there's a lot of overlap. But yes, we have awesome concerts.
Well, and so how does this compare to the usual, as a performer, how does it compare to your usual chamber music performance experience?
Yeah, it's really different. It's very special. It's very poignant for me to play, whether it's someone I know or not. Mostly here I've been performing for people I know, but I've presented Listening Booth once before at a music festival on the East Coast, and that was an indie rock festival where mostly people are listening to very loud bands, amplified, and in the context of a crowd of an audience that are all standing, and it's hot, it's the middle of summer. So in that context, when I originally conceived of the idea, I imagined it as a moment of respite from the crowd, from, not that there's anything wrong with loud music. I listen to a lot of loud music, but it can be just exhausting for the ears to listen to 10 bands in a row who are playing, super loudly amplified. I conceived of it as a break, an acoustic opportunity, and a close listen. In most chamber music settings, of course, chamber music used to happen and still does, in house concerts and in smaller salon-type settings. And I always prefer that as a performer because I'm used to having the sound literally right near me, right under my ears. So I never like sitting at the back of the hall because it's not loud enough for me. So I wanted, it's a number of things. I wanted to give listeners the opportunity to hear it as closely as possible the way musicians hear a concert. So there's that part of it. But then back to the more poignant part, it's very intimate, just being in a room with one other person and playing just for them. So there's something very meaningful for me as a performer. I'm really committing that performance of those pieces to that person, whoever it is. And whether it's someone I know or a stranger, it's really equally poignant.
So what kind of repertoire do you choose for that kind of interaction?
Right. Well, I choose, this time I've chosen repertoire that I think really deserves a close listen.
Listening.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
There are pieces that maybe aren't served as well in a larger concert hall. There's a Glenn Gould event happening today, and I have read and thought a lot about Glenn Gould's decisions to stop performing when he did. And, one of his critiques of the concert hall context and the concert tradition was that it forced performers to play in a more exaggerated way than they maybe would prefer to, or maybe than the composer even might be asking them to, in order to get the musical gesture and approach across to the back of the hall, right? So that doesn't suit all music. And as a performer, it makes you perform differently and emote differently and everything. So I have chosen pieces that I think are very powerful when heard close and don't. It's an opportunity where I don't have to overdo anything. So in a way, it's more like listening to a recording, right? Where you can choose how closely you're listening.
That's brilliant. Okay, so we are in the studio currently with Leanne Zacharias, cellist, member of the faculty at Brandon University, but also soloist and chamber musician extraordinaire, traveling all over the place, but of course loads here in Canada, participating in this year's Agassiz Festival and presenting a very unique and intimate project, Listening Booth, happening at the Lisa Kaler Gallery at 171 McDermott.
That's right.
For more info on this, before we continue, I just want to remind you can always find more information on the Agassiz website, agassizfestival.com, or of course our website, classic107.com, and you can find out how you can book a listening booth with Leanne. So people have to book this individually because, obviously you can't have a lineup out the door. How long are these recitals?
Right. So each slot is 30 minutes, and actually it already sold out, but I've added some times.
Okay.
So, and some of those times are already gone. So I'm here to tell you there's one spot available, and it's tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Friday at 11 a.m. at the Lisa Kaler.
Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. And it's a 30-minute slot.
Okay.
And the first person, basically, when you call the Agassiz line to reserve, and it does require the phone call, and the first person who calls to reserve that spot and leaves a message on the machine will be the person who gets it.
So if you're free at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Friday morning, you can call 204-475-1779 to book that spot. And that is the number you need to dial. Okay.
Yes.
So now that we've got that number out there, we'll give it again right at the end. But I just want to tap into a little bit more that you're doing coming ahead and some of these projects that you've done just before. So this Odyssey Works project was, we talked briefly about this just because I was doing a little bit of reading and I saw this photo is really what drew me into it. Was this photo of you in a corner playing cello with two windows in a pink top, and it was from the Odyssey Works press, whatever.
Oh,
and
yes.
they have a photo from you. So tell us a little bit about this Odyssey Works, because it looks like you were playing in a small venue solo in that incarnation as well. So
yes. So Odyssey Works is an incredible project conceived by a great artist, performance artist and writer named Abraham Burrickson. And I lived in Austin, Texas before I moved to Brandon.
Because you did your doctorate at
That's right.
Texas,
at University of Texas. That's right. And so when I was in Austin, I became a contributor to this project called Odyssey Works. And the concept of Odyssey Works is that they are 24-hour performances created and performed for one person. And so those involve not only music, but they involve actors, dancers, writers, a whole myriad of people contributing. It's a very large effort, all dedicated to one person. And yeah, the photo that you're describing, that was one of the more recent Odyssey works, or Odysseys, I should say, involved an artist from Brooklyn. He was the audience member. He's a writer. And it was presented by the Brooklyn Emerging Artists in Theater Festival. It's a festival called Beat. And as part of his Odyssey, he was flown to Regina, where he was picked up by a driver who took him to a site. Of course, he had no idea really. I mean, he understood he was in Saskatchewan, but he didn't know what was going to be happening. But he was led to this beautiful spot on the edge of a valley where I was, and I was playing a piece that had been written by a composer in Austin for him, for me to play. And it was a 45-minute piece, and I played it just for that audience member.
What an incredible project. I really have to send people to this as well. I'm going to pop a little link in because it's just so fascinating. And I mean, I'm sure, whether one influenced the other or not, but what an incredible odysseyworks.org is a place to go.
And it's,
really
it's
unique.
part of a movement. Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Please.
It's part of something that's become quite popular in the States and I think a bit in Canada too, but it's a new realm of theater, immersive theater. And, we're seeing a lot more of this in the presentation of really all performance arts, music and theater, trying to find ways beyond the typical 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. performance experience that, for a whole number of reasons, does not suit so many people today, whether it be because of family commitments or work commitments. As an artist, we don't live 9 to 5. That's not how we work. So many people's lives are like the 8 o'clock concert doesn't necessarily suit them. There's so much more to explore in that realm. It's a very exciting time to be a performer.
Really exploring the edges of what performance experience can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. Cellist Leanne Zacharias presenting her solo listening booth. There is one spot left unless someone has already called the number at the Lisa Gaylor Gallery located at 171 McDermott here in Winnipeg. The Agassiz Festival runs every summer here, running until tomorrow night. Yes,
that's right.
The 16th, the closing night concert, also a premiere by Pat Carabray, which is pretty exciting. I'm really
it's going to be fantastic.
And I hear you're heading off to Ottawa, so enjoy your performances there, Leanne.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us here in the Diamond Lane. For more information, of course, agassizfestival.com or our own website, classic107.com. Please come back soon.
Thanks, Sarah Jo.
Take care.